to a catastrophe.
It was a vacant six-plex apartment building on fire the night after Christmas. Responders didn't think much of it. They stretched their lines and began their attack. It was only minutes after first responders had arrived that they attempted an interior attack, but they were pulled out of the building. The fire was too hot, and it was decided they would go to a defensive mode. At that point, Truck 1 and Truck 3 extended their aerial apparatus and began a fly pipe operation. The fly pipe, or aerial master stream operation, was set up just 30 minutes into this blaze. Firefighter Mark Ashley had gone to the top of Truck 1 to position the master stream when he knew something was terribly wrong.
I was up there, and I really didn't hear anything, but the guys off of the other truck were telling me, "Look at your ladder, look at your ladder." Well, I looked down the ladder, and I could see it bending towards the left. So I knew that I was in trouble. And then from there on, it just went down. There was nothing I could do. It just happened so fast.
I had heard radio traffic of Truck 3 trying to contact Truck 1 of the position of their aerial. Apparently it had listed or drifted towards their aerial, which was extended in the front of the building and attacking the fire. And they had tried to make contact, but nothing was received. And then the tones of voices changed dramatically from trying to make contact to actually being somewhere between agitated and fearful. And I think at that time they had recognized that the aerial device was going to fail.
Firefighter Chuck Inzarello Jr. was operating the turntable.
My first thing was to try to retract the ladder, and it wouldn't retract for some reason, either because it was in a bind or some other reason. And at that point, I just seen the ladder start to fall to the left. I knew it was totally failing, so I just, more than thinking, I just grabbed the controls because I knew he was heading for the sidewalk.
Instead, the appliance from the master stream caught the edge of the roof, saving Ashley, at least for the moment. Firefighters couldn't believe what they were witnessing.
I'm watching Mark on the ladder as they're starting to set up, and next thing I know, I heard this weird sound. The metal on the ladder began to twist. It started to fall. I watched Mark falling toward the ground, and I was just in shock for a couple of seconds. I just couldn't believe what was happening, because to me it was impossible. So it took me a second to realize what was happening, and I just started praying, and it hit the building. It hit the building so hard I thought I was going to throw him off of it. And luckily he was strapped in, which is a safety procedure, which is pretty much standard practice for all departments, and we just knew we had to get him down. So at that time I was running behind one truck, and 3 truck was in front of it. I noticed Rick taking off a 35-foot ladder off a 3 truck. I grabbed a hold of the ladder. A bunch of other firefighters came over and assisted us, and we butted the ladder, and boom, Rick was up, and I was right behind him.
Firefighter Rick Carper was the first to reach Mark Ashley.
And I could see the tip of the aerial into the roof, and there was a lot of smoke. And I told him the roof was bad as I pulled him onto the roof.
Could you hear him? Were you able to?
Yeah, you could communicate. He was real animate about don't touch the ladder, and I told him, I said, I'm not going to touch the ladder. I'm going to touch your hand if you can reach out and grab a hold of me. And then he did finally, and pulled him over on the roof. And we had to really spread our weight out because it was bad. You could see down through the balcony roof. And so we was able to spread out and crawl back to our ladder, and that's where Firefighter Bates met us. And then we all 3 went down.
Carper said he was in autopilot when he saw his colleague trapped. As a result, he didn't take the time to put on full protective gear. But he recommends full use of gear and says he'll remember that in the future. Ashley walked away from this near tragedy, but in the aftermath, the Kansas City, Missouri Fire Department had to take a serious look at this incident. They called for an independent investigation.
The aerial they're used to working on is capable of much more at lower angles. The aerial they had in service that date, December 26th, is a light-duty aerial, a Seagraves Quint. Wasn't capable of, we found out that didn't have the same capabilities of their present apparatus. We know that when people get in trouble and when things happen, you tend to do what you've been most trained on. This crew has been most trained on the aerial they have in service, a heavy-duty aerial. Things went down, they had a light-duty aerial, they did what they knew to do. They was operating a light-duty aerial as opposed to their heavy-duty aerial. And I think everything added into an event that unfolded.
The 1979 Seagrave 100-foot lightweight aerial was angled at between 40 and 50 degrees and extended some 90 feet in the air. It was 70 feet off the ground. The investigation found several reasons for the failure of the apparatus.
The aerial was loaded at the tip, moved too quickly. They said it was thrown into a power slough, and the operator, at the time, he seen the aerial failing, moving to the south and falling to the ground. He, rather than locking the valve down using the hand crank, which would have taken a long amount of time and would have allowed Mark to fall to the ground, possibly his death, the operator quickly moved the aerial to the right, hoping it would fall onto the roof and giving him some support. That power slough, while the engineers said contributed to the failure, not causing it, contributed, probably is the single most thing that saved Mark's life.